Good afternoon. The meeting is now called to order. This is the Education, Youth, and Family Services Committee meeting for October 8th, 2025. I am the chair, Council Member at Large, Letitia Bracy. At this time, I will call the roll for those members of the committee first. Councilman Hackett, Vice Chair. Councilwoman Michelle Harley.
Present.
Councilwoman Yolanda McCoy.
Here.
Councilwoman Xanthia Oliver. Councilman Kobe Owens. Council President Chirpy Congo. As a friendly reminder, only we have two items on the agenda. The first item is a presentation by Girls Inc. of Delaware on literacy, wellness, and leadership gaps. So you can come up, you can either stand or you can have a seat. WITN, do you have their presentation?
Yes, so,
Yes.
yes, can you play the video first?
Yes, play the, yes, thank you.
At Girls Inc. of Delaware, girls do more than just attend camp. They discovered their power. This is where girls grow into leaders, ready to take over the world. Whether it's through our summer camp, our after-school programming, or our weekend program, Girls Inc. of Delaware is here to inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. Serving girls K through 8, as well as college girls. No matter who, every time a girl walks in through our doors, she steps into a space built just for her. A space where her voice is heard, her ideas are valued, and her dreams are possible. We don't just prepare girls for the future, we help them shape it.
The main thing is your mind, how you are as a person, building self-discipline.
At Girls Inc. of Delaware, we believe that when you uplift one girl, you uplift a whole community. And we are committed to walking alongside her every step of the way. When you invest in Girls Inc. of Delaware, you're not just investing in a program. You're fueling generational change. Our girls are more likely to pursue careers in STEM, advocate for themselves and others, and become leaders in their schools and communities. Every single dollar goes directly towards creating safe spaces, skilled mentorship, and life-changing opportunities. Together, we're not only changing the lives of girls, we're building a stronger, more equitable Delaware. Support strong, support smart, support bold. Stronger girls equals stronger community, and your support equals lasting change.
Come to Girls Inc.
As they're setting up the presentation, I'd like to recognize Councilman Owens and Councilwoman Cabrera.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to show that video. I wanted to start with that video because it is so important to show the work in action and to be able to show exactly what Girls Inc. does. What my presentation will share today is a little bit about the literacy, wellness, and leadership gaps facing girls in the city of Wilmington, and how Girls Inc. how we work to fill those gaps. And so what you'll see on this first page of the slide is just a simple quote. The future success of our global economy relies on girls having access to the education and resources they need for careers in leadership roles in finance, economics, and technology. And when girls are given the opportunities to reach their full potential, all of society benefits. It's so much more prevalent right now because we see what's happening in the federal government, how girls became a bad word, how DEI is being challenged. But girls matter so much. And so I want to go through a couple of different slides for you to sort of show you exactly what issues are affecting our community in the city of Wilmington, our girls nationwide, and how Girls Inc. is the solution for some of these issues. Next slide, please. Interestingly, there's a small group of people here, and I'll ask this, you don't have to answer, but you may or may not know that Girls Inc. has been in this community for 72 years. You may know a girl, you may have been a girl, you may have worked at Girls Inc. or know someone that did. In some instances, you may have been a leader at Girls Inc. And so that means so much. For almost a century, we've been here. As time has gone on, we've transitioned a little bit. And so I'll go into a little bit more detail about that before I go into our current programs and offerings. Next slide, please. All right, Girls Inc. was founded actually in Connecticut in 1864, believe it or not. It started as the Girls Club of America. It was actually founded to serve girls and young women experiencing upheavals in the aftermath of the Civil War. Originally formed with 19 clubs in 1945. It then went to have its name changed in 1990, and we'll go forward a little bit to the next slide so you can see sort of a timeline. Very small words from my vision, but hopefully you can see that 160 years nationally, and again, more than 70 years in the state of Delaware, but the vision has remained the same. Empowering girls in an equitable society, and a mission to inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. Really offering and changing our offerings throughout the decades to make sure we're meeting girls where they are so that they can lead their full potentials. Next slide, please. Wonderful. All right, so why Girls Inc.? And so we'll talk a little bit about this. The headline, to lead and thrive, girls need to be emotionally strong, yet the prevalence of depression and anxiety is increasing amongst girls, teenage girls in the US. We know the results of COVID. I don't think I have to explain that to this committee because I know you do the work, you've seen the research, you know the effects of COVID on girls and boys in this society. Currently, CDC has made, it's actually an epidemic that depression is taking over some of the lives of our kids. But if you look at some of those stats, 4 in 10 students have persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness. But that number grows exponentially with 3 out of 5 teen girls at 53%. And so that actually, you know, that number really truly matters. Also, 2 in 10, 20% of students seriously considered attempting suicide, resulting in about 1 in 10 attempts. Also, female students and students from the LGBTQ plus community also experience more signs of poor mental health and suicidal thoughts. You can go to the next slide. Through Title IX in 1972, you may or may not know, it opened opportunities for girls to have equal access in education and in athletics. But the disparities continue to persist. And so we've looked at, compared with boys, girls are less likely to repeat a grade, which is great, more likely to like school and say that they have good grades. But despite all of that, there's still fewer girls in STEM-related advanced math and science courses, and they're less confident in their math and science abilities. Also, even though there has been an increasing amount of focus in the recent years on reducing gender disparities in STEM, the field still continue to have a decline in female representation. In 1984, women represented 37% of all computer science degrees. But by 2015, this number fell to 18%. So we actually digressed. Next slide, please. is consistent with national labor and education data. Women and girls remain underrepresented in high-paying technical leadership roles. One of the most stark disparities I've seen is that among Fortune 500 companies, only 55 CEOs, 11% were women, and only 2 of them were women of color. Also, there's a fear of girls being perceived negatively that affects our girls' behavior. 61% of all girls say that they like to be in charge, but almost half of the girls report not speaking their minds or disagreeing because they want to be liked and likable. Next slide, please. When we look at the state of Delaware, there are some unique challenges here. What we've found is the literacy rate that you all know extremely well. 75% of all 4th graders are lacking reading proficiency as of 2024 in the state, placing our state again at the rank of 45th nationally in educational outcomes. We also know that City of Wilmington has a poverty rate of 23%, well above the state average. Next slide, please. And so, how does Girls Inc. make the change? How do we make the difference? I wanted to go to this slide because I think it's important and significant to mention the fact that Girls Inc. is not just a local opportunity. It is a nationwide opportunity, and we also have affiliates in Canada. But Girls Inc. is created on a national level to offer evidence-based, research-backed curriculum, and we focus on health, we focus on education, we focus on life skills. When we look at health, we look at the mental and the physical health of the girl. When we look at education, we focus on STEM and literacy. And when we look at the life skills, we are looking at leadership, advocacy, how to be bold, how to protect yourself from harm. Some of our national identity programs include our Operation SMART, which is our STEM focus. Literacy, locally we call that reading readiness. We have Friendly Persuasion that talks about substance abuse and peer pressure. We have Healthy Living, which is our healthy sexuality. And so again, teaching girls how to honor themselves and how to show up in that space. Mind plus body, so that mental and physical space. Healthy eating, how to have mental wellness as you're going through a lot of those anxiety, depressive moments. Sporting chance. We know that sports and sport activities lead to leadership in a lot of youth. And so being able to provide that as an element. Economic literacy, leadership and community action, media literacy, and Project Bold, which is our self-defense and self-confidence. Next slide, please. All right, so locally, what we do, and just to give you a little bit of understanding about the Girls Inc. experience, it can look different from affiliate to affiliate. So from state to state, you might see it present a little bit differently. But what we've done in Delaware is we've really took some time to think about how we design our programs. We looked at the depth of program. What touch points do we need to make in order to make true change in the lives of our girls? We looked at the efficiency and the connections. What kind of connections do we want to make? We also decided on, how do we want to deliver this program? And so what we decided is 3 areas. Our outreach programs, those happen at schools, at churches, at community centers. We meet the girls where they are. Our in-house programming, so you saw that video that we shared, that I shared a little bit earlier. That was mostly our summer camp. Our girls came to us. We have some in-house programming, and then we have our extending learning opportunities during spring break and so on and so forth. So next slide, please. All right, so we're going to get into our programs, which I'm so excited about, because this is new for Girls Inc. Like I mentioned, we are 72 years in. I'm on the job about 6 months, and we've made some changes. Again, to be really, really intentional about how we meet these kids and how we change some of those statistics that we saw in some of those earlier slides. And so we are looking at providing our elementary students with on-site delivery. This is going to be happening at our locations one Saturday every month. Our Bold Beginnings, which is 5 through 9, we're focusing on that reading readiness, that literacy. And this is going all the way around the school year without summer camp. But focusing on those spaces, right? Literacy, healthy living, mind plus body, and an introduction to community and leadership, because it's never too early to start. Bright Futures, that is our 4th and 5th graders. That curriculum looks like our Operation Smart, which is our STEM focus. Media literacy, that is one area that we are hoping to really grow really fast in, because as we look at deep fakes, as we look at some of the challenges that is coming with AI and what some of our kids are facing on the internet, we want to make sure that we are catching them early to educate them and give them a good start, because technology is continuing to change, but honestly, our schools are not catching up to be able to provide the support they need to be successful in that. Introduction to community and leadership as well in Sporting Chance. The extended learning opportunities for that elementary grade level includes our summer camp, where our kids will be taking part in literacy and sport activities, as well as emphasizing on STEM problem solving and literacy reinforcement for the 4th and 5th graders. Next slide, please. For middle school, our on-site Saturday programs look like our She Leads program, which is our 6th to 8th graders, that middle school space, being able to provide them with healthy sexuality. Again, meeting them where they are, because that is that pivotal time in their life where they are starting to think, explore, and wonder. So being able to provide that for our girls at that time. Again, media literacy, half the story is the curriculum that we're going to be using, and that's coming from our national organization. Friendly persuasion and our leadership and advocacy. Also with an introduction to some Sporting Chance and Project Bold. And then the extended learning opportunity is going to be spring break, where our youth will actually do a whole week of sport activities, but it'll be intertwined with opportunities for leadership and growth. And then an extended summer learning, which is our Bold Camp. A 2-week summer camp focused on safety and self-defense and empowerment. Next slide, please. How we serve our high schools excites me the most, because we are looking at college and career. We're looking at how to get them into the next steps of their life. And so we provide programs that help to direct them in that way and really guide them. And so through our Project Dream Bold programming, we're looking at that early career exploration with a foundation in STEM. We actually have some STEM-based programming that we will intertwine with that. They get an introductory to AI literacy. Leadership and advocacy is a big one. Through our national connection, we also have the Teen Advocacy Council, where our youth actually go to DC and they learn on the Hill. And so there's some great opportunities that come with that. They're also introduced to a capstone project, and we also have something called the TeenCon experience, where they actually will go to a local campus and stay on campus for a few days and have the college experience. Project Accelerate is where we meet the young ladies in 11th and 12th grade, but also the college-age girls. And this is where we help to support them in internships. Again, preparing them exactly what the word says, accelerate, accelerating them through the opportunity to learn and to grow, so that when they get out of college, they're coming out into a high-paying job. They're coming out into a career, and they don't have to just figure out where to start. We all know that our network is our net worth, right? Being able to call and have those people that we can call and connect with is how we are most successful. And so that's what we provide them through Project Accelerate. Also with that, we are doing our Eureka Summer Camp, and that is a 3-week paid externship where our kids take a part in an overnight college experience, engage in career and personal development. And you might see there in the small print, we have some partnerships with FIFA World Cup and Coca-Cola coming up. And also, it's just some really great opportunities to enrich the experience. Next slide, please. So before I wrap this up, we talked about our Saturday programming, but I want to just give you the full picture. We've worked with schools in the city of Wilmington, and coming up in the winter, we will be at Servium. We've been at Bayard. We will be at Pritchard and a few other schools. And so we've, like I said, 72 years. We've sort of touched a little bit of everybody, but now we are re-engaging. We are refocusing and re-energizing the work that we're doing with Girls Inc. Johnson is also one of our partners in this work. That being said, Our values support everything we do. We recognize and support the strength in every girl. We respect the dignity of each human being and demonstrate genuine care and concern for the well-being of others. We understand and appreciate diversity, embrace inclusiveness, and advance equity. And we drive for results anchored in integrity and accountability. And we collaborate for impact. Upcoming, actually this Saturday is the International Day of the Girl. In a few weeks, we will be collaborating with MSK to do some programming that's girl-based. And so that's one of our strong suits, right? Even when sometimes we get questions about, what about the boys? We're looking at that from a national perspective. Some of our Girls Inc. affiliates in other states actually serve boys as well. And we hope to support or even encourage other programs that serve boys to serve them strongly. But we want to be very strongly here for the girls because, as you see, there's such a great need. And so, next slide. I want to say thank you so much for allowing me to present to you today. And please, if you have any questions.
Thank you for that amazing presentation. I have a couple of questions, and I'll open it up to my council colleagues. First, I wanted to ask, how many girls do you serve, or how many girls do you want to serve? Like, what's the plan around?
Yeah, so last year we served about 300 girls total. We're looking to increase that number to 500 in the 2025-2026 school year.
Okay. And then my next question is there a payment structure for the girls? Is there like before that, I'd like to recognize Council President Congo is on. Do they pay? Is it a membership structure? Is it all sponsored through your funding?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So our membership is completely free. To be a Girls Inc. girl is completely 100% free. That's a shift that we've recently did, so I want to be very honest about that. Before, the membership was $25 per girl per year, and so we recently went ahead and took that barrier off the table. To be able to be a Girls Inc. girl is 100% free. That also includes membership opportunities. So, for instance, we have an upcoming event with Macy's and Clinique. We also have our She Rose, which is a poetry opportunity coming up in the next few weeks, where girls are learning to speak their voice and use poetry for action. And so all of those additional events come with that free membership. When we look at how we serve the schools, there is a cost associated with the programs that we seek to bring to the schools. In some instances, the schools are supplemented, and so some schools may be able to grant us a small portion of what the actual cost is, and then we look at other grants, corporations, and other opportunities to offset the difference.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments from our colleagues? Councilwoman Cabrera? Oh, sorry, I'm going to start with committee members. I'm sorry, Councilwoman McCoy.
Oh, okay. Yes, so I actually had to, it was one thing you pointed out, and I just had a question. I didn't know whether or not you had an answer for me. But you did mention in '84 that we actually took, it looks like it took a dive when it came to the STEM-related programming. And I was just trying to figure out, was there any type of study on why that was?
I don't know why, but it's worth taking a dive on, because I don't know what was the change.
Okay.
It's worth diving a little bit deeper on, definitely, though.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I definitely was like, okay, I've seen so much STEM programming being pushed now, and I was just wondering, is it because they've seen the sharp decline since the 80s? And if I may follow?
Yes.
The only other question I did have was about the engagement piece.
Yes.
Now, you did state that you are no longer charging for the membership, which I love. Yeah. But I wanted to find out, when it comes to all of the things that you're doing with with the high school age group, are you finding that in order to keep them engaged, are you paying anything, or talk about that?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is something. So for our college girls, we actually developed a stipend program, because that's one of the challenges that we've noticed. I'm a mom of a college girl, and getting her to answer my calls is a challenge. And so being able to be realistic about that was important. We want them to get the best experience. We want them to get the mentorship. We want them to get the engagement. We want them to get the workshops. But we know that their time sometimes is valuable as students. So how do we do that? We looked at the opportunity for incentivizing our girls in our college program. Our high school girls, actually, are incentivized in a little bit of a different way. We do that through sort of action. So one of the great opportunities is that we offer a graduation court. So when you graduate and you have been part of the Girls Inc. experience, you are now honored with this graduation court. It is an honor going through our program. We look at the opportunities for experience, right? And so we have a trip that they'll be going to DC. We have some trips that we will be taking them on, the college experiences, opportunities for scholarship. So not only do we offer scholarship on the local state program, we have national scholarship opportunities, but they have to be a Girls Inc. girl to be eligible for that. So again, it sort of motivates them to continue to have consistency. When we look at our program structure, we're being really thoughtful about, how many workshops or sessions should they participate in to be consistent, to be, part of our group. And then we look for them to empower themselves, right? So how do they support each other and making sure that they are both all engaged in the process and in the experience? We've had really great feedback. We actually ran into a young lady at the past HBCU Week college fair who shared her Girls Inc. experience with us. And that was really powerful. High school girl, she's graduating this year, and she was just so excited for everything that she's experienced and learned from our process. And so we know that once they get engaged, they're not going to want to leave. It is a great program. There are some great opportunities with what we have to offer, and I think that's incentive enough.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
Yes, first of all, thank you for an amazing presentation. I heard everything that you had to say and definitely believe that, yes, our girls need that support, especially with what we see going. So I'm glad that you put that point out there. My question is, in terms of diversity, I know you're serving the whole city of Wilmington. Do we have Hispanic girls that are joining the program, and how can we maybe encourage more membership from that community so that they know that this program is there, and maybe partnerships with the Latin American Community Center so that they can have some of the young ladies there specifically join this program and take advantage of these wonderful programs?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the key points that I want to drive this home so strongly is that we serve all girls. A lot of organizations, depending on their service type, are in support of Title I schools and low income and how do we fix the problems. But we are really, really strategic about the fact that we serve all girls. So your income, the household income, is not a driver for us. Your race or and sometimes gender identity, as long as you really believe that you belong in a safe space and you would like to be a part of our program, you belong. And so that's important to us. I mentioned a little bit earlier, we have 72 years in the state of Delaware. And so we've actually had a Latin-focused program downstate for a few years, a couple of years ago. As I mentioned, I'm about 6 months in, so we're redesigning what has happened and what we can do going forward. That is an absolute great idea. The Latin Community Center is doing amazing work, and that will be a great partnership. And so we'll look at how we do better in that space. We do have a great mix currently. Our past summer camp had about 20% Latin young ladies, which was it was just a good mix of young girls. And so I'm really exciting, but I think that's a space that we can definitely look to be more intentional in.
If I can follow up with a comment.
Yeah.
When I look at the different groups that make up what is the Hispanic community. Obviously, the Puerto Ricans are more assimilated. We're Americans, been here, speak the language. But when you have people that are here from other cultures, the girls tend to be sheltered. They tend to be in the home, and it is hard for them to come out. And for all the reasons that you mentioned in terms of gender and how we are treated as women. And unfortunately, in our Latin culture, the women are still oppressed. They still are supposed to have a place in that home. And we want to raise these young ladies, our Latina young ladies, to know that girls can do anything. Girls can get educated, go out there and do these things. And that goes, it's like breaking them out of that culture that they come from where that oppression exists. And it's programs like this that would help them with that self-esteem and identity. So anything I can do to help you with that outreach, would love to do it, especially going into more of those immigrant communities versus your mainstream group of people.
That would be amazing, and I will follow up with you on that. Thank you so much.
Councilwoman Harley?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to start off by saying thank you, Ms. Sutton, for the great presentation. It was awesome hearing the data points that you have, the metrics, looking at what you've done, what you're doing, and where you're going. I think that's very important for an organization as this in terms of wanting to garner support. With Girls Inc. Headquarters being in the 4th District for some time now, I am well acquainted with the organization and their great impact in our city. And I've had the opportunity to meet with the previous executive director, and I have made a substantial donation to advocate and to support this great work. I also had the opportunity to meet with Ms. Sutton, the new executive director who did the great presentation on today, to connect and to also assure her and the organization of my ongoing advocacy and support financially, and also helping to get the word out about Girls Inc. And I just want to say that I'm hoping that my council colleagues will join me in these efforts. And from the comments that I've just heard, I'm certain that that's not, going to be an issue. So again, it's a great program. They're doing great work. And as a council, we are very committed to wanting to support these kinds of programs. And again, thank you, Ms. Sutton, for the great presentation.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Any other comments from our council colleagues? Councilman Owens?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I just want to say thank you for coming and presenting to us, and good luck with your new role. I know 6 months in is still probably chaotic a little bit, but I know you will do great work, and I look forward to hearing more about what y'all are doing over there. And please, like Councilwoman Harley just said, please let us know how we can help.
Thank you so much.
Any comments from the public? Councilwoman McCoy, did you just raise your hand?
I did.
Okay.
I didn't want to cut off the public, though.
Looks like no one's. You can go. You can proceed.
Okay. I just had a comment. I just wanted to state that Girls Inc. was formerly in my district. I miss you guys. And also, I'm really glad to hear that you're collaborating with MSK, which is actually just moved to the area. So it is great that, that there's not really a competition, but everyone is doing their share when it comes to working with the young women in our city. Yeah. So thanks again for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much for your presentation and taking the time out to come and share the great work that you're doing. Please, please, please let us know, as most of my colleagues have said, including Councilwoman Harley, how we can be engaged, how we can support. Feel free to, if you want to have a follow-up conversation with me. And I know Councilwoman Cabrera wanted to talk about the LACC connections. Let us know how we can be supportive and engaged with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. All right, next on our agenda is updates on the Reading Consortium from Dr. Helen Anderson and Dr. Laretha Odemusu, who is the director of our Office of Educational Advocacy. I also want to acknowledge Representative Nnamdi Chikocha is in the audience. Thank you for being here, sir. And you guys can proceed.
Okay, thank you for having us. As Councilwoman Bracy shared, my name is Dr. Laretha Odemusu. Dr. O is my professional nickname, and I'm the director of the Office of Educational Advocacy under the Wilmington City Council.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Helen Anderson. I am not a doctor. I appreciate that. I'm pursuing. I need to pursue, I guess I should say. And I'll take heed to that. But I appreciate you all having me. I am the chairperson of the Wilmington Learning Collaborative, but in this seat, I'm here to help discuss the Reading world. And I think both worlds go hand in hand. And I am also the City Council's pick for the Wilmington Learning Collaborative. So thank you. I guess we'll call this our update.
So as you see, it says the Wilmington Interagency Collaboration presents Fixing a Broken System, Why Redistricting. The next slide will share with you who the participants are in the Wilmington Interagency Collaboration. I'm sorry, we added it on our side and did not add it on your side, so I'll just share. So the Wilmington Interagency Collaboration participants include the Office of Educational Advocacy, Wilmington City Council, Wilmington Mayor's Office, Reading Consortium for Educational Equity, Wilmington Center for Education, Equity, and Policy, and the Wilmington Learning Collaborative. This interagency collaboration is one of the first initiatives from the Office of Educational Advocacy to support and unifying the efforts in the city of Wilmington. So we have been meeting for, I guess, about a month and a half, 2 months. And the goal really is to bring together groups that are of similar purpose and mission to ensure that we are working together. And one key focus, because we are within the redistricting timeline, is to support Reading in moving this redistricting process forward. So the purpose of today is to really share, as it says up here, the objectives, the historical context and the challenges that face Wilmington's education system, why redistricting is an important step in fixing the fragmentation, the current status of redistricting efforts and next steps, and the ask for groups that are supporting Wilmington students. So I do want to acknowledge that there are several Reading Consortium members in the room. Councilwoman Cabrera, Representative Chakwocha, Ms. Ray Jones Avery, and Kendra Brown are also members of Reading Consortium, and we are joining them in the effort to ensure that redistricting information is shared and that it's correct information that's shared. Next slide. So the historical context, and many of you are familiar with this information, there are 18 public schools in the city of Wilmington. Also in the city of Wilmington are 11,000 students. So a lot of those students go to the 18 public schools, but we know that there's no high school directly or public high school in the city. So our high school students are not attending those 18 schools. And then we also have students who are attending the homebound and private schools as well. So it's 11,000 students, but there are 18 public schools in the city of Wilmington. And I'm just going to read some of this information because I think it's very concise. Over the years, school leaders and community members have worked together to help improve education for Wilmington students. Today, the system is still too complex, and we need a more unified way to support all students and schools. So the information and the work of the Reading Consortium, as you all know, is building on task force and groups that have been working for over 2 decades in the city of Wilmington, starting with that Wilmington Neighborhood Schools Committee in 2001, the Education Task Force in 2008, the Education Advisory Committee in 2015, and the Education Improvement Commission in 2016. So 2 decades of information have informed the work that Reading is moving forward and that the Wilmington Interagency Collaboration is joining alongside to support. Next slide. So this is just a map showing you what the district lines look like. So if you look within the black lines, you'll see the city boundaries, and you can see that there are 4 different districts that are serving the city of Wilmington. So you see the overlap of Brandywine and Red Clay and Colonial, and then you also see that kind of disconnected portion of Christina, because you see Christina is off to the side, but then they have that chunk of students in Wilmington City. So right now, Wilmington City is broken up by 4 different school districts. Next slide.
So that is why we are here, to discuss the 4 different school districts and what that really means for our children, and how this is. So I would think, I always like to use the term, and what I've been saying to parents when talking to them, the larger problem is that when you have 4 heads, you're going to have continued problems. And right now, our schools, our children have 4 different heads. You never know which one you have to go to and who you got to contact, right? And so our families have that disconnection. We're already very disconnected because most of their district offices are outside of the city limits. And then so there's that disconnection. And then our children have that same disconnection of being able to have their neighborhoods be a part of their school community. So how are city students doing compared to our district is where we're going to start. And we're just going to look at, I know typically whenever we're looking at school districts, we want to compare Wilmington children to Wilmington children. But I think for this conversation, we really need to compare Wilmington children to their peers in the district. So when you look at the first slide, if we can go to the next slide. There's Christina School District, and there was some tweaks, and I'm sorry that they didn't make it in. So we looked at Pritchard and Bayard's numbers compared to Gauger, Cobb's, Downs, and then there's also Brookside and Leisure elementary schools, which better match. as we can see from just this slide here, it can happen in these particular school districts. It's just not happening in our city. And if we go to the next slide, this is the Red Clay School District. So again, we can look at the 3 schools that are being served, and there's really 4 because there's Shortledge, but they're K to 2, so they don't have the same testing requirements. So we're using the Delaware School Report Card, just so you know where this information came directly from. So there's Warner, Johnson, and Lewis, and where their numbers and their scores are. But then if you look at Brandywine Springs, and we had swapped it out for Marbrook, which has more of a direct kind of demographic, the same demographic. Councilwoman, you have something to add?
Oh, no, I'm just looking at.
Okay. So then we looked at Marbrook as well as Cook, and there's more of that demographic of our city of Wilmington children and what that looks like. And so as you can see, again, you can see that there's a big difference within the district. So it's not that the districts are not able to educate children and to get proficiency levels up, because it's happening outside of the city of Wilmington. The question is, why aren't they able and capable to do this in the city of Wilmington? And that would be the question that we really should be asking and trying to figure out and dig in. And I think Reading is trying to attack that, but we need realistic conversation. If we can go to the next slide. So, and this is Brandywine School District. So as we all, as you may know or may not know, the Harlan School is the K to 5, and then there's PS, which is the middle school for the city of Wilmington. But we took a look at, again, their numbers across where the demographics are pretty similar. And as you see, if you take out the PS, gifted and talented, those numbers they go down significantly, and those children have some of the same numbers that we see kind of across their peers. So our larger concern as we are having this discussion and conversation is that it's happening outside of the city of Wilmington, and why is it not happening in our Wilmington schools? And we are not getting correct answers. We're not getting direct answers. And we want to blame children. We want to blame the families. But this is happening across our state and across other municipalities. But the question is, why can't we get this right in Wilmington? We're not talking about 150 schools. We're talking about less than 18 schools, and that includes the charters. But for us, when we're talking about district schools, you're talking about 10 district schools. If we can go to the next slide. So every child, why we're doing this and what I think Reading has been trying to go about, and what I'm saying to families is, we all know our children deserve the highest, best education as anybody else. The city of Wilmington's children are just as important as the ones in Bear, the ones in Pike Creek, and we need to have that same focus on our education. When things are going wrong in our counterpart areas in the suburbs, those families get together, those community members get something said, and they get things passed. We need the city of Wilmington to have that same backing, that same stepping up to the table. We are not looking to just change the boundaries and change the lines and change those. We are looking to make true impact 40 years from now, because what happened 47 years ago is what is impacting our children today. So the plan has to be bigger. It has to be something that we are directing to say, we are not going to continue to allow our children to sit in failure when there is a possibility for you to be able to fix this. And we can point fingers and we can say, it's your fault, it's this person's fault, but it's not helping us to solve the greater issue. And that greater issue is that the way that this 4-system model is working is not working for children. And if we're not talking about children, and if we're not discussing our babies, our youngest citizens, then what are we actually doing? Because this is their future that we are impacting everything that y'all do today. If we can go to the next slide.
So to talk through redistricting, the planning, and the process, so the first initial step really is bringing together and starting to address the boundaries so that we can then really get into the nuances of what that plan looks like. But the first step would be bringing the pieces together. So just a reminder that Reading Consortium's mission, it was created in 2019 to recommend policies and practices to the governor and Delaware General Assembly that will improve educational equity for students. And the goal is to improve outcomes and academic and learning outcomes for all students. The consortium was also mandated with developing a redistricting plan. So that is serving kind of as the impetus of this conversation. But again, we're joining together as a collaborative and a full collective effort in these plans. So we're working together to expand opportunities so that our students have quality or have access to a high quality education. Next slide. Next slide. You can move forward. Next slide. Oh. Okay, sorry. All right, so what is the process? So there was an approved interim plan in May 2024. That plan consisted of a couple of factors, and this was through the Reading process, that there will be no more than 2 school districts or fewer in the city of Wilmington. And it also focused on removing the Christina School District from serving the city. We all saw the map that Christina just has that chunk that's not connected to the rest of the district. So that served as a key driver. So key areas of the plan include an 18-month timeline. So I shared in the beginning that we're close to the timeline, and we're right here at the end with this timeline around approving a final redistricting plan. That is happening this year in 2025. Subcommittees were developed, a landscape analysis was conducted. We'll discuss some of the outcomes of that landscape analysis, and there's also a conversation around big ideas for policy reform, because it's important to stress that this isn't the only step, it's the first step. Next slide. So where are we now? Next slide. So there was a number of community outreach updates that took place. The Reading Consortium hosted 3 strong school town halls in May 2025. There were 2 subcommittee retreats, one in March and one in June, and there were 2 full body meetings in May and July. There was also a co-interpretation event that happened in September 27th. I believe Councilman Owens was there and Councilwoman Oliver. And then there is also a subcommittee or a retreat happening on October 28th. We'll remind you of those dates because we would like to see city council members there. That is open to the public. Next slide. And then the retreat recap. So where are we with the redistricting options? There are 3 options that are currently remaining from all of the discussion that's been happening over the past 15 months. Northern Newcastle County Consolidated District, which is combining all 4 districts. That will be a combination of Colonial, Brandywine, Red Clay, and Christina. The Metropolitan Wilmington District, which combines Brandywine and Red Clay. And the Brandywine and Red Clay Consolidated School District, which would be a 2-district model. Next slide. So one question that we often get when I'm speaking to different stakeholders in the city of Wilmington is what happened to the Wilmington City School District option, because that was an option. And there are multiple reasons, but one of the key reasons that I think is important to highlight is that the socioeconomic levels for the city of Wilmington have shifted over the past 3 decades prior to the busing and the desegregation. So at this point, based off of the data analysis, the Wilmington City School District is no longer financially sustainable. So that was a key factor in removing the Wilmington City School District.
We'll go to the next slide, please. So what else is being considered? As we have stated for over 70 years, this has been at the center of a lot of conversations around Wilmington children, what is going to happen with our children and what's going to happen with the schools. Reading is recognizing that it's not just about changing the boundaries, that there's way more that needs to be discussed. It goes beyond just the funding because there's been a lot of money put into some of these districts and we're still not getting outcomes. So we need to have more accountability, and we need to address some of the services and supports that are missing. So they looked at the social drivers with AIR. Was the organization that they brought aboard to help. And we looked at social drivers. If we can go to the next slide. Within those social drivers, there were a few things. We had students from the Center for
Structural Equity, the youth PAR team.
And so those young adults that were tapped to do the research identified some key areas that the city of Wilmington and the council members of the city you have direct impact on, right? And so they identify public safety, transportation, housing, and mental health. I know many of those things come up with you all as council persons, but this is where we need help because we have students identifying this. They spoke with over 114 children in different ages, different demographics, to be able to come up with this list and some of the concerns that are there. We can go to the next slide. In public safety, they identified that they don't feel safe in their parks. They don't feel safe on public transportation. They're just not safe in their community. They would love to see more community centers open, more school buildings become more community hubs. We have parents and children saying that the gun violence and what is happening in the streets with the drug use and having to walk past a drug addict in order to be able to go to your school, it's just not an environment conducive to me wanting to go to school. We had children describe the fact that if they missed their actual school bus in the morning, they would not get on the city transportation in order to be able to go to school out of fear for their own safety. Young lady said that there would be older men approaching them, making them feel very uncomfortable. The part of having to walk over or walk around people who are addicted to drugs, and maybe leaned over or asking for money on their way to school, it made them so uncomfortable that they would miss days of school. One identifying that she got a truancy because of that, because of their living situation. She was missing the bus on a regular basis. And we just need to fix it. It's a solvable problem, and we can fix it. We know we need more social services on the ground, but what else can we do? How can we bring our community centers in? We heard Ms. Sutton just speak about things that can be offered to girls in our community. We have to do something, and this is pretty much the call to action. I'll ask to go to the next slide, please. Again, as a part of the transportation and what we can do. Our children are sometimes very transient, so their buses are sometimes not ready to go for them. It could take 2 to 3 weeks if they move from different areas. And so we need to figure out a way to get more busing to our children that's alternative placement, not so much there's regular school bus and maybe not the city bus. Maybe the City of Wilmington Parks and Rec bus can be the option that helps our students get to school once they miss it. We have to fix some of the barriers that they're facing, whether it be there's some states around the country that are doing like a Uber, Lyft type of thing for children who miss the school bus, and it doesn't cost them anything. Our children should be able to be safe in our communities and be able to get around to the different programmings, and we need more programmings that will allow them to get off of our streets and into buildings where there is some safety, some structure, and some additional learning happening, because that's the other part. We can go to the next slide. We know housing is a huge combat. Whether you are low income or not, our medium income families are suffering with the same problems. Housing insecurity is a huge issue. We know that you all have been trying to tackle that. I think it is not just a one entity. It is not just this municipality. It's not just state. We're going to have to do something different. We have to be more creative on how we're going to attack this. Our children not having stable housing is a huge factor, and a lot of that does start in their home. And how do we help our families be able to realize that some of what their actions and what they're doing is directly impacting their child's academics? And what I do on a daily basis is try to change that mindset shift. But I think we all need to focus and work on what it is that is happening that's causing some of this homelessness and this housing insecurity. And some of that, like I said, it does start in the home, but it is impacting the children in this city in the way that they are able to go to school and be ready and be able to, work with their peers and do different things. Opportunities are missed when children aren't in school, and housing is a big piece of why children don't show up sometimes. We can go to the next slide. And then mental health, these are students identifying that mental health is a major concern. We do have some mental health practitioners in our schools. We have some in our communities, but it's just not enough. And they don't always have access to them, nor do they always trust them because they don't look like them. So there are many factors that show up when we talk about mental health for our children. But as a community, as our city council, what I'm asking is that you all help us to break down some of the stigma, break down some of the costs that are sitting out there. Not all of our families are able to afford it. Some don't have the access to Medicaid. And as we know what's happening across our country, many of them might lose it. But that doesn't mean that they don't need the actual services. We need to encourage more people to go into that field to try to help our children more step up to be more mentors, and we need to push it in our schools. We need to push mental health because our children identify that they will not access it. They'll go to a friend or they'll keep it to themselves and then have these explosive bottled up moments. We have to find ways as a community, as community leaders, to be able to help get on that ground level and really work with our children and our students to access these services, and convincing parents to even have that conversation with their children. Open up more health centers in these different schools and the different buildings that's there have more access to mental health. I'll ask that you go to the next slide. Can we go to the next slide? So while we're having this conversation, those social drivers came from students. I want to say that again. They were not identified by adults. They were identified by children who are being serviced in our schools or children who live in the city of Wilmington and being bused outside of our city in order to get their education. And they had problems and they had questions and they had concerns and they continue to have them. And we are the problem solvers for them at this point, or we are at least the ones that can drive the problem solving. They solved their own problems. They identified them for us. They gave some suggestions, and I just ask that we push that. What's next for Reading Consortium is, we know the September meetings happen, as Dr. O said, but we have plenty of meetings that are coming up. There's a full body meeting that will happen on October 28th. We're asking everyone to come. We know it's a weekday. It's in the evening. People are going to be tired. But we cannot be tired in the fight when it comes to our children. Every time there is a meeting for Reading, for WLC, one of these school board meetings that are talking about our children, I just need for Wilmington families, Wilmington legislators to show up in those spaces and let your voice be heard. Our children need our voices. They need our fight. We cannot continue to hold on to 4 different school districts and think that we're going to have any success for children. I coined a phrase in our meetings, 4 no more. And we just need to continue to keep that as the message, 4 no more. No more 4 school districts. No more 4 failing places. We want to have one place where we can have governance and we can have accountability, and we need that accountability for our children. They deserve us to get into this fight and to not stop fighting until we get what is best for them. So 30 years from now, they're not having the same conversation. There won't be 5 more books saying what we should have done or what we could have done. Today is the day, and going forward, that we start doing this. The Reading Consortium will make a vote either at that October 28th meeting or the November 6th meeting. At the November 6th meeting. And when they have that meeting, we need your voices. They need to hear that the community is behind making a change that is going to impact every one of us. It's going to impact educators. It's going to impact the leadership. We absolutely know it. But right now, if we don't do something for children, we will all have to raise our hand and say, I failed. I help fail children, and I'm not really comfortable with that. My father fought that fight, and that is why I've not been silent about this. This is a bigger fight than all of us. And as it continues to go, once Reading does their job and they make a selection to send down to Dover, then I still need all of us to get your constituents and all of us to get all of our friends, family, to get on buses to go to Dover and have the larger conversation, because they need to understand, I don't care what they do downstate, but in Wilmington, we're going to do better by children. We're going to put them first. We can't just make that a statement. It needs to actually be something that we step into. And as they continue going down, based on whatever the General Assembly says, there's way more work that has to get done. We have to figure out how they all get really consolidated, what teachers might not be able to make the cut. We all that stuff has to get figured out, but we got to be realistic. What's working right now is not working, or what's happening right now is not working, and it's time for a change. We can go to our next slide.
I think it's also important to add, and Helen spoke to it a bit, that this is going to be an all hands on deck effort. The city of Wilmington really does need to band together, because the reality is, in addition to low test scores, we have higher chronic absenteeism rates. We have higher discipline rates. The data is not going in the right direction for our students. And when we center students in this process, we realize that this is really the only option for us to bring together the school districts, because if what was working, if our current structure was going to work, it would have worked already. It has not worked. It is not resulting in the outcomes. So we need to move forward with something that is going to work. So we'll continue to share with the city council, share with the city what is happening with redistricting, but we do want to ensure that everyone is aware and that we're all coming together to support this effort because it is what's best for the students.
And that's our ask of you all, to keep an open mind, ask all the questions you need to ask so we can have all the correct information going out, because right now I feel like there's a lot of misinformation from what we hear. Our goal is that we get the right information, the correct information, and the right reason behind it. So we ask that council members get engaged, ask all the right questions, bring your supporters along with you, ask your constituents to just show up and at least listen to the information. If I can ask for nothing else, we just need people to open up the doors, whether it's your civic associations, the MPCs, whatever it is that wherever we can do this small group. We can come in and talk to 10 people. We can come in and talk to 200 people. We just want to be able to have the conversation so that the information is out there about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and it's always going to come back to children and what we know is best for our children. You all have a great resource in Dr. O. I mean, you'll go to her for whatever. We have this one pager coming out. It's actually out today, right?
Yes. So I'll send it out to City Council.
Will go out and it will go to City Council, but it's explaining redistricting at a very basic level so people can understand why we're asking to fix a broken system. So I do appreciate your time. I thank you very much for having us to be able to come and have this discussion. So if there's any questions, we're ready to answer.
Thank you so much for this wealth of information. And Dr. O, you'll make sure that all council
I need to be
has
excused.
a copy of that one pager, correct?
Yes, so I'll send out the one pager. I'll also send out the update. I know we were referring to some information that's not reflected in the slides that you guys have, so I'll make sure that you have the updated PowerPoint as well.
Thank you. And are there any questions from council? Councilwoman Carrera?
I actually want to make an announcement, just to remind people that if they want to join in, we are having another town hall October 15th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. It's the Educator Advisory Panel Town Hall. It will be virtual, so people can sign on and actually making arrangements. Hopefully our conference room on the 3rd floor is available, so the virtual anchor location will be here at City Hall. And then October 22nd, the Community Engagement Subcommittee is meeting from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Myself and Stephanie Ingram are the co-chairs, so we welcome you to also attend because we do want the public to be engaged. I noticed from some of the meetings that people keep bringing up, but we've tried this before and it didn't work, and we've done this and it didn't work. Just because you tried something and it didn't work doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep trying, because obviously what we're doing now still isn't working. Something has to happen. This really is, and I don't want to say the last attempt, because if it doesn't work, there will be others, but this is the one that has to work because it's years culminating of this issue. You know, for a state that is so rich in resources in so many ways, and having had the President of the United States from Delaware, it is a shame. It is a shame and it's embarrassing that we have the educational system that we have, that all this money goes into paying 19 superintendents, 19 school districts, when it really should be narrowed down. And that is the true question. When is Delaware going to do something about putting those millions of dollars that are spent in health benefits and paying salaries into educating our children? We are a tiny state. We do not need that many school districts. So I, for one, will give my public opinion. I think the metropolitan system would be best. And yes, it does give us the resources of those other neighborhoods that we need versus just having a school district for the city of Wilmington. As much as we would like to do that, it really does come down to resources and money and what we can do. And knowing that our children are exposed to situations, you know, bullets flying, getting shot, seeing people dying in their neighborhood. As you mentioned, walking past, you know, people who suffer with addiction and mental health illness. They need special resources, those wraparound services that we can provide in this particular school district model would only enhance their quality of life and give them a fighting chance. So I'm really encouraging the public. Please get involved. Please come listen with an open heart and open mind, and stop with the negativity about we did this, it didn't work, why should we do it now? We have to do something. Sitting back and doing nothing is not an option. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much. And if, I'm sorry, if I could just add one date, October 17th at 10 a.m. in the chambers, right? In the chambers will be another public meeting where we will go over the redistricting and why redistricting. So that's another meeting that was added. I apologize, Councilman.
Thank you for adding that. Yeah.
President Congo and then Councilman Owens.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I have two questions. The first one is earlier in the presentation, it was stated that we can't have a Wilmington school district because there aren't enough resources. I guess I would like to talk about that in more depth. Like why can't we? Like what's preventing us from having our own school district?
Yes, there were a number of studies, and I can't say that I can speak to every detail, but from the American Institute research, when they did the landscape analysis, it was determined that the Wilmington City School District as a standalone wouldn't be financially sustainable. It would have to rely on consistent state aid versus it being able to support itself as a school district, which would put the district in a precarious situation to constantly be at the request of additional money in order to function.
And that's because of the tax base, correct?
The tax base has shifted. Yep.
Okay, but previously there was a notion that it would be sustainable. And when was that? How long ago was that? Do you know?
I'm going to ask Representative Chakotcha to come to the table.
Okay.
Your question again, Mr. President?
Yes, thank you. When was it thought to be sustainable that we could have our own school district here in Wilmington? And when did that shift? That now that we can't, they say that we can't.
A lot of things changed. I mean, since we lost our school district, as was noted, a lot of things have changed. But generally, in terms of our property value here in the city of Wilmington, it is noted that, especially with the needs of our schools, that we just don't generate the resources that are necessary to fund our own city school district. And a lot of the tax bases outside of the city help to fund the city schools. So I mean, it wasn't like a date and all of a sudden, but even when we had our own school district, there were supports coming in from outside of the state where the state was helping to support. And not to say that that's like out of the norm, because if you look at the Del Mar School District right now, the state provides resources and supports beyond their local share. But that burden, as was noted, that burden wouldn't be carried every year by the state. It just wouldn't for the magnitude of resources that we'll be talking in order to fund our schools properly.
Okay. All right. Then my second question, Madam Chair, if I can.
Go ahead.
It was also stated earlier in the presentation that we need to fight, and there has to be a fight, and we don't want to not fight. I guess it's important to know, like, who are we fighting? What system are we fighting, or what individuals are we fighting? And if that can't be answered right now, I get it, but it would be helpful to have a cheat sheet. I don't know. I don't know how but somehow we have to know as elected officials. We have to know as the public, like, who are we fighting? Who is stopping what we know can happen in our city, and it is already currently happening in other cities. Is it elected officials in Dover? Is it the school districts? Like, who? Because it's important to know who we're fighting against. Like, who is the fight against?
I mean, just the simple answer is one. I think the most general answer is that we're fighting against the system of failure, and this system of failure has been supported and continued and just advanced by this current 4-district model. So fighting that means that we're fighting many who don't want to change it. As was noted in the presentation, there have been plans after plan after plans in order to change it. And whenever we get to the point of implementing a plan, then that's when all of a sudden all of the opposition, you mentioned who are some of the individuals we're going to have to fight against. Believe me, other than the individuals in this room, there are very few individuals that are standing up saying, let's change this system for the good of Wilmington children. So if we as Reading, if we as the Office of Educational Advocacy, if we as the Wilmington City Council, we as the mayor's office are not standing together to say we demand these changes for our children, no one else is. And that means 40 years from now, we're going to be having this same conversation. Ms. Ray Avery led a body in 2000, 2001. That was 25 years ago, a quarter century. The same things we're saying today at this very table, she said in a report 25 years ago. Everything that she predicted and that committee predicted would happen 25 years ago is what we're facing today. And no one wanted to change it. And you think of all of those years since 2001, 2008, 2015, 2017, all of these reports. No one wants to change this, but it's our children. It's our children that are being gravely impacted. So who we're fighting is one, because every community, you think about these suburban communities outside of Wilmington, they're calling their legislators already. Their school boards are already stepping up saying, oh, we don't want this to happen. They're already doing it. So if we don't stand up to fight, their voices are going to be the ones heard in the General Assembly. And their senators and representatives are going to vote against this, against our children. So we have to stand up and fight. If we don't, no one else is.
Absolutely. If I can just add to that, I mean, from my perspective, I mean, you know, this is my brother and he's a politician, so I know he has to watch what he has to say, but I don't. And so what I will say is this. I've watched generations of family. We have our own family members who did not finish high school because of the conditions of the schools that they attended as children. And I think when we say the fight really is because you have all these outside factors outside of the city of Wilmington that never come into our schools, that never come into our communities, that don't know how bad it is, but they think about the impact to their neighborhoods and the impact to their children's schools and what is going to happen if for somehow our children it's not a competition. Children are getting failed in the city. Children are being failed across our state, but children are definitely being failed in our city. And it is because the school boards they're not looking at children as our city of Wilmington children as what they should be, Council President. They're not, our children are not being the focus anymore. We've not had a focus since we lost the Wilmington School District. And the only way we're going to get focused is if we say to school board members across this state, like, we want this for our children. If we can get the General Assembly and everybody else down in Dover, even those folks that are downstate, they're going to have to agree to this. And we have to make them want to get into this fight and help us win it, because they don't want this. I mean, we're talking about Black and brown children. I'm sorry. And that's not their biggest fight, but it is our biggest fight. Black and brown children deserve a voice, and the voice starts with this city of Wilmington because you represent them.
And what we are finding is as we get closer to the timeline, more opposition pops up. So it might have been a voice that was okay in June that's now saying, actually, let's not do this right now. So we really are needing to ensure that we're active, because if we're passive, then our voice is going to get lost in response to people who are being active. So the folks who are writing their legislators, the folks who are pushing campaigns and pushing misinformation, if we are not actively combating that, then their voice becomes louder. And that's the voice that the General Assembly listens to. So when we're looking at the timeline, the first realm would be the state board and then the General Assembly. But in order to get there, we have to make sure that the city of Wilmington is one band, one sound with this, because we can't fight against each other. We have to be supportive of it so that we can come up and combat the active voices that are pushing against this initiative.
All right, thank you. Is there a date that we need to try to mobilize people for? I'm sorry, Madam Chair, that's my last fault.
You're fine, Mr. President.
So So the vote will be happening in Reading, November, I believe the date is November 6th. But in terms of the larger conversation, I think it's actually here. So January 2026, President Congo is when the plan will be presented to the State Board of Education. And then by June 2026 is when the plan is expected to go to the General Assembly. So the spring legislative session is really the time where we need to galvanize, have people speaking at meetings, have people showing up to the meetings, and make sure that we're a consistent voice that's heard in that conversation.
So to start October 28th, if we can see you October 28th at the Reading Consortium meeting, and you could bring the band so we can start. I just look at that like that's going to be our rehearsal, October 28th. So the whole band can be there. So November 6th, it'll just be the ceremonial. We are passing this and we're sending this to General Assembly, and then we all show up in Dover where we have to pack that room, and they need to move us to another room for the state board meeting, and then we show up in Dover for the General Assembly meeting. I think we start October 28th, but we never stop. We just keep moving on down the road.
All right, thank you.
You have like a graphic for that or anything?
Councilman Owens?
I'm sorry. You have like a graphic or
We'll
flyer
get
for
it to you.
anything?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Go.
So I had a few questions. One, I think to answer Council President Congo's question, short answer for the whole community, the fight is at the state. That's where we need to be putting pressure on. We just saw them come back, do a special session to change some things with property tax assessment. We hadn't done that in 40 years. It was an issue. Guess what? They got it done real quick. And then they put together a committee, and they're working on that to continue to get it done. We've been dealing with this issue for 47 years, and members of the General Assembly have not lifted a finger to do anything. But we do have some members down there fighting. But also, I come from, I know y'all know them, J Street, the school of J Street, getting in some good trouble. They need to start withholding their votes on key legislation so that if they're not willing to address the issues that are going on in the city schools, you're not passing your bills no more. And we as a city have to start coming together and supporting them when they do actions like that to guarantee that we're getting the resources and the funds and the structure that actually works for our school system. A lot of the things in here, some of this is state-based stuff that the students brought up, like DART and transportation, but I think if we could get the state to also agree to give additional funding to community centers so that they can go from the bond committee, so that they can go and purchase vehicles, so that they can have vans, again, go through the whole licensing and everything, but they can have vans that could provide that additional transportation. That is a way to do that. The city, we only have one bus driver. It would be no way for us to be able to coordinate the kids who are missing their buses, but community centers, if they're truly rooted in their community, they will be able to be that additional resource. City side of things, housing. You talked about the increase in the rising housing costs, both for home ownership and for renters right now. There's been a lot of discussion about what stabilized housing looks like here in the city of Wilmington, and there's going to be a lot more discussion on that from the side of the students. We just passed, as a council, unanimously, we just passed a resolution giving more money to anyone who works in the school system in one of our city schools to be able to become a homeowner. That helps a little bit. That helps recruit. That helps with retention. But we also have to do something for the families as well, too. So I do agree with you. And I would love to sit down with whether it's the students or with your committee and talk more about what does that housing aspect of it look like and how we on a city level versus a state level can work together to kind of cross-contaminate that policy idea and see what comes from that, right? And then the last thing I had here, the mental health services. I think it was Speaker Longhurst passed a bill 23 to provide additional funding for mental health services to be in the schools. Do we have any update on if it's, I know it's happened in other schools, but we're not seeing that in the city schools. Is there a reason? Is it to pay for our city schools, for those specialists, social workers to go into our school? Or is it just we're not getting the people signing up for it? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, there are some updates, there are some vacancies, but a lot of that money from HB 100, 200, and 300, they are being implemented. So there are many mental health providers inside of our city schools. And to be honest, it's a need, and I mean, it's a growing need. So, but the way in which we go about addressing it, that's the problem, is that we're putting money into a broken system. So the system is broken. It's not, so we can pile all the resources on top of this broken system, and it's still not going to give us the outcome that we want. So it's not just about more money, more money. We have to have a different system, one that includes the voice of not only this city, but the voice of our communities to address community needs. So we can talk about something in Dover where it's a great policy in the way it was implemented. And to go back to the bill, I was one of the ones who argued about, because it was very general at first, and we said, well, we need to have placed them in a high need school first. And then there was a caveat added on by our districts to say, like, if we can do that. But in order to pass the bill, that's what we had to add. But we need them in our schools, and I have to commend our districts. They've been fighting, of course, but there is a shortage of therapists and social workers within our state. So that goes back to the pipeline from Delaware State. We're trying to create a new MSW program at University of Delaware in order to meet this need. But wait, there is a need. I mean, just like our teacher shortage, there's shortage of mental health professionals as well.
Thank you for that. And Madam Chair, just quick follow-up. So with all that, I think we, as a city, I agree with y'all that we have to coordinate better, right? We have to have our Wilmington delegation to the state on board. We have to have our city council on board. We have to have our school board members that represent the city of Wilmington on board. The one last thing I would say, and again, this is directed at the state took away our power, our voice, when they allowed for the entire school district to elect our school board members. They may be nominated from our communities, but everyone else votes for them. It should be community-based voting for our school board members to make sure that it is who the community, that district is supposed to, that seat is supposed to represent. And it has not been like that for a very long time. We've had some strong people over the years on it. We need more of that, and it should be, we should include that in this process as well too, regardless of how the redistricting is going to go. That's how we start getting our voice back, but we have to start coordinating with our school board and all of them. So again, I agree with y'all. I look forward to working with y'all, and anything I could do to help, please let me know.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Harley?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say kudos to Councilmember Owens for just kind of like hitting on several cylinders. But I just wanted to make a comment as it relates to a milestone. But before I mention that, I wanted to say thanks to Dr. L, to Ms. Anderson for the thorough presentations and allowing us to know the work that needs to continue to be done. I also want to say thank you to the other LRC committee members that are in the room. I don't know everyone that's in the room, but I know Ms. Ray Avery Jones is in the room. Thank you for the work that you're doing for our children. Thank you for fighting for their future. Thank you. And I also want to just give a shout out to City Council for hearing the call and taking action on the urgency that we heard from Senator Lockman and State Rep Chakwocha about this time last year. I believe it was about this time last year, and it's kind of like interesting how we are here tonight with that same urgency, and I think that is great to allow us to know to how we need to feel the temperature. So I just wanted to just give City Council a shout out for the record that we did hear the call. We took action by putting funds in the budget to establish an education office of advocacy. We hired one of the best in the education space as the director for our office, and our office is making some great strides, I believe, with collaborating with other education stakeholders. And I do want to say tonight, I did hear a lot of needs. There's still a lot of needs. There is still a lot of work to be done. And I believe that City Council, we have our hands on deck. I heard that earlier, how all hands need to be on deck. We have our hands on deck along with our education advocacy director. We're going to keep our hands on deck. And I want to say again, thank you for again bringing us this sense of urgency once again in terms of how we can best help, how we can best support, and how we can best advocate, especially on the ground in terms of sharing these messages in our civic association meetings, which are very powerful because that's where the community is. And a lot of our community parents and grandparents, I know they attend the civic associations that I represent. So I again, I wanted to just say thank you to those that are fighting for our children's future, and also to give a shout out to City Council for us meeting the call, standing up to the call, and it has been a year. So I just wanted to share that. Sometimes we need to acknowledge work that is being done as we continue to stay in the fight. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we open it up to comments from the public, I did want to mention that, and I've seen the presentation before. The today. But I did want to mention, Councilman Owens and I have been working on creating a youth leadership council for council to kind of look at barriers and create kind of a youth master plan that we would be launching next year. And so I think some of this data that was already collected in the barriers that have been listed in this presentation and in the reporting that was done with the Center for Structural Equity is a perfect segue into what we were trying to do anyway, which is talk to kids and really identify the barriers and then get them to tell us what they want to see. And a lot of what in our initial conversations with some of the youth that are in the Department of Parks and Rec programs was exact same commentary, almost to a T of what's here. So I think that also gives us some clarity around when we start to engage more with our city youth to build kind of a youth master plan. We already have a blueprint of issues that need to be addressed. And they were very vocal. The, 20 kids that we met with, they let us, we thought that, it was going to take them some time no, they let us know the parks need to be clean. A lot of what you're saying here, they talked about. So there's definitely some synergy. And I think that whole one band, one sound and whatever we can be doing to partner and to continue this fight and make it even a stronger, united front from the city. I know I'm here for it, and I appreciate you guys and all of the work that you're doing so far. With that being said, if there are any comments from the public, feel free to step up.
Can I?
Oh, go ahead, Rep.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I wanted to acknowledge a comment that Councilwoman Harley made about the selection of Dr. O, and also the council heeding the call a year ago, because you did, and it's commendable, because I remember being a member of council in this very body, and you mentioned Representative Owens, Councilman Owens mentioned Councilman Street. He sat at this very table, and we had this very conversation. So, and that was 12 years ago. So if we think about then till now, it's a fight that we need to continue. I'm glad that the city is joining this fight, because it's been hit and miss. The city's here with us, and then the city's not here. So we need consistency. We need, our children need us. That's the bottom line. And if we don't step up for our children, no one else is. No one else is. It was mentioned about how we got here, and Ms. Ray Avery said in her report that we were going to have a city full of racial identifiable, high need, high poverty schools. She said that 20 years ago in that report. And that's exactly what we have. That's exactly why we're having challenges inside of our schools in terms of being able to have quality educators inside of our schools to get the engagement and the supports that we need inside of our schools. The surrounding districts, regardless of the plan, they work with us. As Dr. O mentioned, we got all the way up to that final point, and then they flip-flopped on us. And the last time we got here, when Dr. Allen was leading it, the flip-flop dealt with money. And it dealt with, the schools are in such bad shape. Our current mayor said, you know what, we're going to do something about that. A whole lot of money went into building a brand new Purchase School, totally renovating Bayard School, Pulaski School, Stubbs School, to address those concerns. So a lot of us are just sitting there waiting, like, what's going to be next? But we know it's coming. There are districts, those outside districts that really don't want to do what's in the best interest of our children. They're waiting. They already, honestly, they have already, one of the districts already have a lawyer. They're ready for this fight. So we have to get ready for this fight. And my dear Uncle Jay will always say that's how we need the city. We need the city to be prepared for us, to support us and get ready to go to court and do what we need to do to fight. Because sadly, the only change that we've ever seen happen in our state is by going to court. We shouldn't have to be that way. We've been fighting hard in the General Assembly with Redding, and I'm thankful. Honestly, I feel that we have an opportunity to do it this time. I really feel that we can be successful. About this time last year, that was in the spring, I brought a group of representatives and senators from downstate, all Republican, across the aisle. They all came here because they wanted to see what we're talking about. They wanted to see what this poverty is compared to their rural poverty. They wanted to see our poverty. They want to see the state of our schools. So we walked them through all of our schools. And I tell you that I feel we have so much support downstate to support the changes because they've seen it. So I don't think we're going to have the challenges that we think. I think our challenges are going to be locally in terms of our surrounding areas, not downstate. I think the change that we're fighting for, everyone knows it's needed, and that our children have suffered long enough, and we must stand up. We must stand up and fight for our children. It's needed now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, state your name for the record.
Kendra Brown, the parent rep on the Reddit Consortium. I'm a special need educator at Stubbs with 12 years experience in the classroom in the city of Wilmington. I just want to say, I wasn't going to speak, but I felt like I had to. Sticking out your comment, Kobe, what is it, right? We do get paid more for working in the city, but we still have a lot of vacancies, right? So what is it? To me, it's like being in a relationship with somebody that keeps throwing money at the relationship, but not trying to fix the relationship. So what are we going to do to fix our relationships with each other? Because we ask ourselves, who are we fighting? We are fighting ourselves. We're fighting ourselves to speak up and say yes. Yes, we want change, and right now. And we're just fighting ourselves, and we just have to start fighting it. This is a city problem. This is a state, city, and nation problem. We're not the only city that has this problem. We're not the only city within our state that has this problem. This is our problem. And yes, it's a state problem, but as the city, we have to bring the demand to the state that we have had enough. I sat right in this room where this young man was sitting at too, with my aunts and my dad saying the same thing, and I'm 39 years old. And now I'm advocating for the same exact thing in the same rooms with the same people. It's enough. And we're not asking anymore, we're making demands. Either we do it or we're gonna start doing other things and y'all not gonna like it. And just like they are starting to get people together, we've got people together and we are getting ready. We're ready. The city ready. Because we do get paid more. But my question is, how much would you accept to work in poverty? In HELL every day? How much money can they pay you to track young black boys into prison? And then you got to advocate, but you might lose your job. So that's my gist. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none. Okay, Marshall. Okay, Marshall.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. And I just want to mention the young lady who just spoke. That's exactly the reason, like the Office of Education Advocacy was established, is to be able to give a voice for the city, for Wilmington. So I just want to mention that because those were some very powerful comments, and just wanted to share that for the record.
Thank you. Any final thoughts from council members? Councilman Owens.
Again, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today, and Representative Chukwucha as well, too. But like it was said, this is a issue that we can no longer just wait on. And like Senior Advisor Marshall just said, this is why this council found it so important to make sure we had someone who is knowledgeable of our school system, someone who understands the funding of our school system, but also understands the students, understands the families, and understand the reality that so many people are facing. So again, I'm always happy when I see Dr. O. When I walk into a room, I know I saw you at the last Women to Learning Collaborative thing over at Warner. But we as a council, again, have to continue to fight. But we cannot just fight each other. I agree with Ms. Kendra, what she just said. We cannot just fight each other, but we have to be very focused on where that fight and energy is going. And my comments towards is saying it's the state, is understanding that this is a policy decision what has happened in the city of Wilmington has always been a policy decision. They made a policy decision to remove Joe Johnson as our superintendent and break up the city of Wilmington. This has been a policy decision to continue to keep this system the same way. So again, yes, we all have to get on the same page, but we have to understand where that system of power is coming from, and it's coming from the state. And we have to do everything in our power to bring everyone together to make sure that we're changing that system.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments from council? Seeing none, thank you guys again for being here and for sharing this time-sensitive information. It's extremely important, and I echo everything that's been said. We have to get this right because we've been talking years, 20 plus years. We've been having these same conversations, and we've been seeing the same lack of action, and we just can't let that continue. So I appreciate all of the work that everyone is doing, the collaboration work, and bringing in other partners, and really trying to make sure that we're engaging with the city and getting people together so that we can, start October 28th on through, we're beating the drum and we're getting people out, and we're really making sure that people are engaging and that we are fighting for what's the right thing to do for the children of the city of Wilmington. So with that being said, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved in second, and this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Have a
so
good
much.
night.
Have a good night.